Oh my gosh, we already have 22 people on right now, which is great. You guys must have really enjoyed the GMV Max workshop that we did last week and been hungry for more. It was perfect. We left on a cliffhanger last time, Brywin.
We sure
Like
did.
your favorite romance novels, it was a cliffhanger, and we're like, what do we do next?
Everyone is gonna think I'm a romance novel reader now.
I mean, you do live like Brywin goes. Just so you guys know, if anyone's ever watched Anne of Green Gables, what Brywin's family has a place in that area in PEI, which is very cool. So, um, that is not what we're talking about today. Let's in the chat here for those of you guys who are on Riverside today. Let me know in the chat what you guys are looking forward to today, where you're calling in from. Tell me a bit about your brand. And we are going to have the live chat open on the side here. And we will be answering questions at the end. So make sure that you stick around till the end. We chatted about GMV Max last time. Brian, you want to do a little bit of a recap on GMV Max and just where we ended off last time?
Yeah, and I'll keep this brief. Highly recommend if you were not on the first workshop that we did on this 2 weeks ago, go back. It is on socials. Check it out. Wanted to start off with the last slide that we actually looked at last time, which I think is a pretty good recap of what we covered. On the last webinar, we really looked at, well, from 0 to 10K, what do brands have to do on shop to ensure that they can be successful on GMV Max? So kind of starting with the basics. And then thinking about GMV Max as being, instead of this manual sort of lever to pull, leaning into the algorithm and giving it what it needs to be successful. So a couple of key things here is really be a better operator. First and foremost, comes down to your shop health. You want to make sure that you have a solid shop performance score, that your shop health score is healthy. Make sure that you have the inventory levels to actually support if you have a viral moment, if you have that big break on TikTok shop, that you're able to fulfill those orders. Better creator partners. No more of these sort of churn and burn creator relationships. Really take some time to, yes, get quality and quantity, but really figure out who are going to be your best creator partners and double down into that. Better content systems overall. Brands that are succeeding on TikTok Shop aren't just relying on creators. They aren't just putting everything into ads. They are actually treating it like its own channel. They are posting organically themselves, ensuring that they get additional content angles out there, but also so that way they can feed GMV Max while they are waiting for that beautiful creator content to come and get to that magic $1,000 post mark. And better commerce teams. So internally, you're already aligning on the paid media side, the creative, the operations. You're not treating this as a silo. You're treating everything as if it's part of a larger ecosystem. So they've built an operation. They're not just treating this like another ads channel. So that's kind of where we left off last time. And I think it is a great segue into the next part here, which is,
Can I
all
just
right.
want to step in
Yeah,
before you
absolutely.
segue, before we all get excited about the
Okay,
next part here.
because I'm excited.
I want to talk about. I just want to just make sure that we touch on a couple of these things one more time for people who weren't on last time, and really understanding the importance of this. One very interesting stat, if you go into, we use Reacher at Social Commerce Club. One of the really interesting things is when you go and look and actually see the 80-20 of the 80-20 when it comes to everything that happens on TikTok Shop, the amount of videos that are posted on TikTok Shop in general, and then the amount that actually drive GMV, it's like generally 10 to 20% actually drive GMV. And so the faster that you can figure out where that signal is in creators, the more that you can double down on those creators and get them to make more, the better. The brands that we work with at the Social Commerce Club that tend to do the best have a large amount of videos per creator, not a large amount of videos per sample, right? So at first, our thesis, like a couple of years ago, our thesis was how many videos per sample, right? That was like one of the things that we thought. I actually don't believe that anymore. What I believe is that it's the amount of videos per creator, because what you're trying to do is find those creators that are worth spending the time on for your brand, right? The ones that really resonate with your brand, understand your brand voice, want to continue to talk about your brand. And that's where you're going to get the most alpha from these creators. I really, really believe that. And then I just want to talk quickly about better commerce teams. Brywin, what is your role at Social Commerce Club? What do you even do?
What do I even do? Um, Short of everything under the sun that I can to be helpful, I actually run our unified commerce department. So I often describe myself as the bridge between the TikTok shop, social commerce, everything that we're doing on that side, and the traditional D2C. How do we make this, we call it the halo effect, but how do we actually create an ecosystem where the halo effect is possible? How do we take all of that beautiful content that's been proven it's converting, or maybe it's not converting yet, but it's driving awareness on TikTok Shop, bring that over into other channels and get additional sales on a platform where you own your customer? I will sound biased towards D2C, but it is definitely two sides of the same coin, in my opinion.
Yeah. So this is really a part of these commerce teams. One of the things, if you guys are from a big brand right now and performance and TikTok shops sit separately, I highly recommend either having a meeting together. So if you guys are in a bigger sort of organization, make sure that you guys are really on the same page when it comes to this. There's big brands out there right now that are getting tons of this incredible performance content and are not able to get the rights to it and then move it over into D2C ads or whatever, right? A lot of people are using this for CTV, for YouTube, for Meta, for all of those channels. But the problem is a lot of big brands are putting TikTok Shop into marketplaces, which I really think is wrong, right? This is, again, the best demand generation channel that we have ever seen. Not a demand capture channel. Now, is it starting to capture some demand? Obviously, yes, right? Like we're starting to see search results go up, some stuff that we're actually able to get through the API soon, which is really, really interesting. I want to answer a couple of questions here, Brian, before we move on, because I think this is the perfect time to. What is a good number of videos per creator per month? Connor asks. We aim for 5. If we can get that, that's great. Again, more signal creators creating more videos. 5 is crazy. If you guys can get to that number, you are world class. So if you can do that on average, that is incredible. And Noah says the more videos a creator posts, the better their content gets in our experience. 100%. We could probably end the workshop right now with that because it's that important. And that is the main reason that we really believe in this. So there you go.
I would just add in that, though, that the feedback loop is incredibly important. If a creator posts one time or twice, their content isn't getting the engagement they want, and it's not getting the traction, they aren't driving GMV, coach them to get more content and better content. Tell them what works, have that communication, invest back into the creator network with your time and your insights, and they will then 10x that for you. If you're just throwing up your hands and saying, well, that was a tragic post, that wasn't very good, but the creator actually has the chops to do a good job, they're driving GMV elsewhere, you've seen them post for a competitor brand or a similar product to your own, invest time into them. And it doesn't have to be one-to-one. That is an excellent time to coach to the masses within your own creator community that, if you've been here before, we highly, highly recommend, encourage, and should be a non-negotiable, is have a forum that you communicate with your creators.
Yes. I cannot tell you guys enough just in case you guys are wondering whether or not we believe in that or not, our team right now at Social Commerce Club is close to 80-ish. And I am the one that is now leading our creator community calls because I believe in it that much. Like, it's that important, just so you guys know. There's that much leverage. I can't imagine something in the world of social commerce that has more leverage than our creator community right now. So just throwing it out there, and your creators. So, all right, Brywin, I'll let you keep going here.
All good. The other thing that I'll just touch on is specifically when it comes to first launching on TikTok Shop, even if you're a brand that has thousands of SKUs, thousands of different products, you really should try to focus on a hero product, a couple of hero products that you're going to be pushing and investing in heavily with sampling, and pushing your creators to make content for, and allow that to sort of be your guiding light to then fire into GMV Max. Something that brands, once they get sort of through that threshold, should then look at, okay, well, what other products can we add? We have enough content for our hero products. We have a new product coming up. We have something else that we want to focus on. Maybe your hero product is very seasonal and you need to start looking at the next season ahead of time, especially if GMV Max is already firing. Start planning that out and use your creator community as the best focus group you can ever have. Make sure that you know their pain points. Make sure you know any insight that they have on why consumers like the product, why they don't like the product, to help guide your decisions as far as like what is the next product you are going to be focusing on with TikTok Shop. And reason I mentioned that, Jordan, is we're having it a lot right now with our clients that have more seasonal products that peak in summertime. And we are anticipating, and they're anticipating what happens when wedding season is over, for instance, and your bra, a shapewear brand, a tanning lotion brand, things of this nature that have a sort of lifespan to peak in the summer. You want to start identifying your next core product group now, so you can start getting it in the hands of creators, start getting the content. So by the time the current content starts dropping off of GMV Max, you have something else that's ready to take its place without this massive lull that I think a lot of brands are or should be concerned about and thinking about and planning ahead. So I just wanted to touch on that as well, because I think that's so important, especially right now going into summer.
Yeah, awesome. And just a reminder for those of you guys who are live right now, we will get to your questions at the end. We want to really go through this GMV Max. We realize we did not have nearly enough time last time to talk about all of the nuances of GMV Max. John has a great question. We'll get to that in a little bit. All right. Do we want to move on to the next slide here?
Absolutely. So the new constraint and it's going to vary by brand, but I like to look at this as up to 50K in GMV, and then what happens when you get to that 50K magic number. Typically, we will start seeing brands begin to plateau at this point of time. And it's not because they're not working with good creators anymore, but it's now there's a new constraint. It's not getting GMV Max started, it's continuing to feed it. So it's the signal quality, not signal volume necessarily. And Jordan, jump in any point in time. For those of you that don't know, Jordan and I have been working together for I think 3 years now. And he does have a thinking face. If you know, you know. So at this stage, GMV Max definitely has enough raw data, or should. If you're getting results that have continued to, sorry, as my cat climbs my leg, continue to allow you to pour additional investment into GMV Max, you're at that 50K magic number. You're probably not having a hard time attracting creators to your product. You're probably not having a hard time getting enough samples out the door. It's now about improving the quality of the signal that you feed the system. So this is where you're really going to want to be able to scale spend, and you want to now invest in your top creators that have proven themselves. How do you now get past this plateau with them? How do you now encourage them to make new content that's slightly different from the 100 of other videos that they've made for you, that's enough to get then past the algorithm? Because you will reach a point in time, you have your winning scripts, you have your winning creator briefs, you have your sort of quote unquote formula of success. There's going to come a certain point of time where that formula just doesn't work anymore, and you want to be able to continue pushing the boundary. So if you want to think about this in terms of like meta ads, 2 years ago, you could probably run the same style of winning ad for over a year, maybe more, and it would still be a top performer. Whereas now, and very much like GMV Max, volume and variety wins. You want to be ahead of that curve.
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple of thoughts here that I have when it comes to this, right, is that the only way to solve this signal quality mess that we find ourselves in, right, because you will get thousands. I was just looking at a brand of ours that had 30,000 videos last month, right? it's a lot of noise, right? And the only possible way to solve for that and to amplify the signal is through relationship. It's like the hardest, again, TikTok Shop is playing on hard mode at all times because it's not just a matter of like I think, we have so many people that want to show up to GMV Max ones because it's like, sweet, it's ads. We all understand if we came from D2C or Amazon or whatever, we all understand ads. That's a fun way to be able to do this. It's like ads, but with using humans, right? And so you have to be really good at relationships and getting those people that you realize understand the brand and the signal and pouring into them. And I do recommend one-on-ones. I really do. Like, even for you as the founder of the brand or whatever position you are in, I recommend going and having one-on-ones because you're going to be able to solve problems in such a crazy way when you actually have the feedback and go into the conversation just asking questions, right? Just asking questions and pouring into the creators in that sort of way. So that's a really, really important thing to be able to remember in all of this is like, yes, again, today is about GMV Max, but at the end of the day, it's really about your relationships that you have with creators. So very, very important.
I love that. So now we're thinking about scaling creator supply. Exactly what Jordan said, I think, is like the perfect segue into this. Is it is built on your relationships. You're really never going to get to a point in time with TikTok Shop where you're not doing net new outreach and finding new creators to build those relationships with. You always want to have that steady supply, but I will be like very, very transparent with this. We have a lot of large brands that the top 20 creators that they had in the beginning, they're still in the top 20.
Totally.
And that's because they have invested in these creators. And it's not just about transactional relationships. It's about really getting into a groove with the creator, making sure that they feel like a partner, that they're always excited to continue making content and that it's fresh. I will also be very transparent. If you're a brand that only has one product and very specific use case for that product, you're going to get to a point in time with creators where they're going to struggle coming up with new ideas. They're going to struggle to stay invested in something that there's nothing new, there's nothing fresh. They are, at the end of the day, consumers as well, and it is your job as a brand to sell to them. So when you're thinking about new products to add in, again, tap into them with their focus group. What are they interested in? And help clear up any pain points potentially as well. So the first step here is you're still going to expand your recruitment. By this stage in time, though, you should have a pretty solid understanding what type of creator works for you, what you're looking for. So you're probably going to find that you don't need to send out as many samples, and you can take some time to actually vet and make sure that you're finding the right creators that will give you the type of partnership that you know is required to be successful. So that's something definitely to think about. The reactivation side of this, you're going to have creators that they get burnt out potentially, they stop making content, and then your performance starts to suffer. You want to make sure that you're continuing to find new ways of engaging with them. Sometimes that is as easy as doing a special contest, doing a collab with them, giving a commission, something like that. But make sure that you have a structured reactivation flow. If you've been on Shop for a year, you should have a pretty good idea of what that workflow should be. By month 3, are creators getting burnt out? Is that month 6? When do you have to introduce a new product? How do you make sure they feel like a VIP? And how do you make sure that you're continuing to build in some kind of loyalty with this? The multiple personas. So this is important because we know that TikTok has been shifting into rewarding creators in certain spaces and saying, for instance, beauty products will typically perform better now with quote unquote beauty creators. So something to keep in mind is, do you have creators that make a very specific type of content where they fit a specific persona? Start identifying that and coach them accordingly. Stop giving the same creator brief to a creator who really crushes at demos versus a creator that crushes at reviews. Really dive into the type of content that is working within each creator bucket, and that'll help just deepen and make sure that you're getting quality content per each bucket. I think that's something that a lot of brands are lacking. Jordan, I don't know if you have thoughts on that, but I'm definitely seeing that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the great thing is in the world of AI, this is the perfect way to use AI, right? Like you could get ChatGPT to come up with 1,000 new potential content angles for a single product, right? Yes, I know a lot of you guys are on here thinking like, okay, well, I have like one or two SKUs. Like, we can't just continually, if you're like in supplement land, like we can't just keep dropping new flavors all the time. Maybe you can, depends, right? But there are different angles that you can take on this and different use cases constantly. I think about medical drugs, right? And the amount of different. I think one of the big things, and this is my TED talk for today. One of the big things that's going to come up in the world of AI is this idea that we have all of these drugs that are made, but there's actually like tons of different use cases for drugs that may not actually be the way that they were originally developed, but yet like think of Viagra, everyone. It was not first for that, right? It was first for blood pressure, right? But then they discovered that this was a different use case for it. And so think about that. I see like everyone leaving the talk. But it's really true that like the amount of different, this is where you're going to get these fresh content angles from your R&D department, who are your creators. This is the crazy thing, right? Is like the more freedom that you give them with support is really important. I'm reading this great book right now called 10 to 25, and it's about motivating 10 to 25-year-olds and really what they need. To be honest, it should just be 10 to infinity, because it is about motivating anyone. And really, the big thing that creators need, right, is high support, right? And also a high bar, right, at the same time. So that's the other thing too, right? Is high standards, high support, and what you really want to give creators at the end of the day. And just so you guys know, highly, highly recommend as any human to read that book. Just absolutely life-changing. And when you think about what creators want and what people want in general, it's status and respect. And so if you can give them that, right, in some sort of way, that's really what we're trying to do throughout all of this. I know you guys thought you were going to come on and talk about like the couple of, 2 levers that you can pull on GMV Max. These are the levers, the human aspect, right? The psychology behind how to get creators to make more for you is really the thing at the end of the day. I want to go to a couple of questions here, because I think there's a couple of questions that are really good in this GMV Max question here. So, Richard, how do we get creators to post more while maintaining good quality? We tried mass seeding at the beginning, but it doesn't seem to work well. Our product is niche. We feel not everyone can promote our product. Yes, that is a very difficult position to be in, Richard. Absolutely. I think that going back to the previous slide and talking about finding the signal, sometimes you're going to have to find the signal from leading indicators, right? So sometimes there's going to be leading indicators that are going to tell you this creator could be good, even if they may not be producing GMV Max yet. Think about this. I'll do another medical analogy. I don't know if you guys know, I was a paramedic for years, and so sometimes I bring medical analogies into things. But like, think about going into a surgery. Do you want the guy that this is his like 3rd surgery, or do you want the guy who is like this is his like 7,000th time that he has done an appendectomy? Yes, you want the guy who has done it a lot of times. It's the same thing with creators, right? The more that a creator can post for you, and even competitors of yours, to be honest, the more that they can understand the nuances of talking about your product and selling your product, right? Who's the best person at selling your product? It's you, because you know the product that well, right? That's why founder-led brands tend to be the best and biggest brands in the world still, right? Usually when a founder CEO leaves, the brand or the company tends to lose the thing that made it them, right? You can see it through like all of the biggest companies in the world, right? Would like Tesla be Tesla without Elon? Probably not, right? Because he's obsessive over these certain things and understands the product more than anybody in the world. So all of that to say, the way that you get them to maintain good quality is for you to be making content and figuring out content that works. And then alongside of that, trying to find creators to double down on and create, again, with the Pareto principle, it's going to be like I always think about it, it's the 80-20 of the 80-20. So basically 4 out of 100 are going to be incredible. Then pour all of your energy into that 4%. That 4% is going to be the ones that you're like, but the only possible way to get to the 4%, Richard, is to go through the hard work of seeding out a lot to find the gold, right? It's the only possible way right now. I wish that there was a better way, but there's just not right now. So that's the hard answer, but the real answer. Brywin, were there any other questions you wanted to handle right now, or do you want to have these ones
I
to
was
the
actually
end?
just going to tag on to the one that you were answering for Richard there. The other thing too, because there's a lot of missing information, obviously, from that question. As far as like everything else that's going on, is it not being successful because you're not getting enough creators making good content? Is it not being successful because they're making content but you're not getting the conversions? So there's a couple additional layers there. All else equal, if your like actual product page is solid, if they're making some creators are making good content, it's just getting volume. I think that's an excellent point from Jordan. The other piece too is understanding, does the product actually do well off of TikTok Shop? Is it doing well on D2C or Amazon? Are you able to actually take those creators, and maybe you don't have a large pool, or you can't invest like $5,000 in creator incentives to pay for volume with challenges and contests. If you have other channels that are working, those creators that are making good content that maybe aren't generating GMV right now, I want the usage rights. I want to put them on whitelisting campaigns and partnerships so I can then leverage that content on channels that are working. And I still want GMV on TikTok Shop, yes, but I also want to get as much value out of the platform as possible and value out of that content. So get them into partnerships where they're getting a percentage of ad spend, for instance, using our wonderful partner tool that we love to use, Refunnel. Pull that through and then take those learnings back to the creator and say, hey, look, you're making amazing content. I know it's not generating GMV, so I know you're probably not going to want to keep making this content, but hey, your content is crushing on Meta. Let's get you paid out there. So that way they continuously make content for you because they know they're going to get something out of it. And then to our point earlier, the more content they make, the better they get, the more content that you're going to be able to show and demonstrate to other creators, and you're going to get that snowball. There's a couple of additional steps there, but it's just thinking about it as using the tool for a different destination to have a massive impact on TikTok Shop.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jordan,
I
I
just
can't
want to
help
step
but
in there
look at it
for
through the unified lens.
Yeah, totally. I just want to step in there for 1 second too. So something that we're a beta service that we have right now, Social Commerce Club, that we think is we've been thinking about this in a lot of different ways. Most brands, most agencies think about it as a creative licensing problem, right? Oh, can we license that piece of creative? We actually don't believe in it like that. The way that our beta service is running is we actually think about it as a creator licensing problem. So we want to really license the creator and the things that the creator is going to create to be able to use on other platforms, because we want to invest. When we find the gold, we want to dig in that area, right? One of the big issues that a lot of entrepreneurs have in general, right, is like they'll be like digging and they're like, I hit gold. Awesome. Let's go dig over there, right? Instead of continuing to dig in the same trench where the gold was, right? And that's what we want to try and do. As soon as you hit gold, it's like, awesome. Sell everything you have and go all in on that. So I'm using a lot of stories, analogies, biblical references, whatever it is today.
I'm here for it. Perfect. Thank you, Larissa. And expanding the content surface area. So I touched on this a little bit. I do want to make sure that we have a solid 20 minutes at the end for question and answers, because everyone knows at this point I'm long-winded and we don't always have that much time. So take a screenshot of this slide. It's just talking through some of the different angles to try. A lot of the times, especially in the beginning, you're going to have maybe one creative brief with 3 different hooks. Expand upon that. Expand on what's working. Try the different angles, whether it's problem awareness, is it a demo, is it social proof, UGC and standard testimonials, lifestyle offers. Play around, build on what works, continue that, but also make sure that you're still looking at the horizon of what else can we try. You don't want something to fatigue and then be playing catch up. And Larissa, I'll let you click over there. Thank you. So this was one of the questions that we actually get quite a bit on social, and it's, the old manual way of media buying versus GMV Max, and how TikTok kind of made this decision for everyone. GMV Max is obviously what is being pushed. It is getting a bit of a bad rap, I'll say, as being a black box, where you don't have the same level of control, you don't have the same level of access to the information. And it's really a mindset shift is needed, in my opinion. So we don't have to panic. We can just apply the same practices, but in a different way. So manual campaigns, they've pretty much just been completely phased out at this point, replaced by GMV Max. Yet operators are still often inside. I need to build a barricade around my desk.
I
But
feel
they're
like
still
that's like
applying.
a bingo card sort of
It's
thing for one of our workshops here. Is like, when did Brywin's cat, dog, kid,
daughter
husband?
bust into the room. I will let everyone know in September she will be in school. It will not be a problem. So cash in on your bingo chip cards now, my friends. But at least she's not using a battery operated toy, guys. It could be worse. But operators are still applying this manual campaign mindset to a system driven tool. So GMV Max, it does not reward micromanagement. If you're in there every single day, several times, playing around with raising budgets, decreasing budgets, raising ROI targets, lowering them,
Like, just
you're
hold
going to
on for one
struggle.
sec. What does reward micromanagement? I can think of
Uh,
very few things in this world. So just like lean
yeah,
towards not.
I was going to make a joke about my husband, but he's pretty good. So if he sees this eventually, honey, don't worry. I don't micromanage you. I guide you with direction and positivity. But GMV Max rewards better inputs. If that's the only thing you take from this workshop, and the previous one is what signals are you feeding it? So here's how our thinking must evolve. And on the agency side, brands, you've struggled with this. This is something on the agency side. We had dozens and dozens of clients that we had to make this mindset shift on and educate. So you're not alone in this. But manual campaigns, a lot of the reason people liked them is because they were in control. They felt that sense of control. They felt like they would do something and it would have a direct impact rather than necessarily having to focus on building up the signals to have the desired outcome and being patient enough and pulling the right levers to make that happen. So the number one reason I get is like, well, I want to find winning ads. I want to hone in on a single piece of creative and then make tiny iterations and see if I can beat it. Being able to optimize campaigns and just being very, again, micromanagey, controlling every lever. For control freaks like me, this can be difficult. However, we make it work. Scaling budgets first. This is typically the first thing that brands would look at and focus on ROAS. Again, we talked about some of those additional parameters that you can look at, the leading indicators as opposed to the lagging indicator that ROAS is, and being able to just manage ads on an individual basis. GMV Max is more about creating those winning signals. We've talked about it a lot, but that is the number one thing I think we really need to look at here. And optimizing the ecosystem. You are no longer going to be able to outmaneuver a poor converting product page or shoddy product with good advertising. And I think that's really something special about TikTok Shop and GMV Max. You're constantly having to feed the algorithm better inputs, and you have to scale content and creators first before you can really think about scaling ad spend. Focusing on that signal density, we talked about that already, and managing the commerce operations, thinking about inventory, thinking about your product mix, thinking about the offer. Again, you can't outmaneuver a bad setup with good ads. And I think that's the big difference.
Yeah.
So, how do we actually take some of those manual best practices that we're comfortable with, that we all know and love? How do we apply that to GMV Max? Because it's not really a completely different beast. It's just about taking what you know, best practices, and applying it in the way that makes sense now. So, creative testing. It's the number one thing a lot of marketers care about, a lot of brand owners, a lot of founders. instead of testing ads to find winners, you're continuously generating creator and shoppable content, so the system always has fresh, diverse signals to work with. You are going to be able to look at and say, hey, of my top 10 performing pieces of creative, this is what they all have in common. You can then double down with your creator briefs, double down with your creators, and really focus on who is driving the results for you and invest back into them. Audience testing. This is now shifted into creator testing. So rather than testing audiences and interests, your content is going to tell you what people are interested in, what they want more of. The types of creators are going to tell you the same thing. So testing creator types, the hooks, the offer structures, the content formats, discover what resonates within each segment, and you're going to be able to, again, see those patterns and double down. Get inference and knowledge from that. Jordan, I could sense your wheels turning.
Nope, no wheels, no wheels. Just keep going here.
Beautiful. So budget scaling versus signal scaling. We already talked about this, but instead of increasing budgets to grow revenue, first and foremost, increase creators, content angles, conversion signals. Once you have that, budget scaling is going to come naturally. You're going to be able to lean in. And then campaign analysis has now shifted into ecosystem analysis. So rather than weekly looking at your campaigns and breaking it down, you then can break it down further and look at, well, was the creator output? What is the content velocity? What are the creative concentrations, the shop health, the inventory, offer performance? And you can use that to then guide your week over week and month over month changes and adaptions. Perfect. So on this one, operating GMV Max like a business system. So I think this is, throughout the course of this, is thinking about it from an operator's mindset has certainly been, I think, like a big takeaway. But making sure that you have an operational checklist that you review, not just looking at what is happening on ads. So your hero SKU inventory levels, the shop health metrics, creator output, concentration risks, offer performance, blended revenue impact. Really think about this as a whole. And then shifting forward into the growth engine model. And this, again, these are sort of the 5 things we constantly talk about, but products, creators, content, operations, and measurement. They're winning on system quality, the brands that are doing very well on this platform. They're repeatable and they have that dialed in. So this is something, regardless of what stage you're at, you need to be thinking about the foundation and the core before you can actually build. Felix, I don't know if anyone on this call has met Felix. He has some very popular sayings he likes to use, which involve building on shaky foundations in houses, but I think that's quite relevant here. You want to have a strong foundation before you start building a 3-story house.
Very good.
Perfect. Larissa, I think that might be the last one. Perfect.
Awesome. So we do have time for
20
questions
minutes.
today. And we got lots of GMV Max questions, some really, really good ones that I want to get to here. I got a toughie here. Is it ever worth boosting creatives on GMV Max, or is it best just to let them run? Noah, what do you think I'm going to say? It's funny. We've actually had this discussion back and forth. We had somebody that worked with us at a previous agency and then also at Social Commerce Club, Mateo, who is just awesome. And we would go back and forth on this all the time. We never found, in like millions of dollars of testing, we never found any difference in trying to boost the creative. As though, like, when it comes to so much of this, the robot knows more about certain things than us, right? It knows a lot more about the algorithm than we do. And so us trying to put money in to boost those certain creatives in GMV Max does not seem to work in the same way as letting the algorithm run wild with the creatives that are there. Exactly. So yeah, Noah, perfect. It would be like trying to force a signal that it doesn't have. It's like the same thing as like you going onto Facebook and running like an ABO campaign and trying to like go like one creative at a time. Like, you think you can outgame the algorithm? No. Humans can help by motivating. Now, things that AI cannot do, it cannot motivate your creators. It can't help your creators help them feel like you care about them and they're now motivated to make an extra few videos for you, right? Like that's the kind of stuff that I'm talking about that really matters, that we can pull, versus you trying to outgame the algorithm just will never work. So one of the other questions here, and we're going to try and get to as many questions as we can here. One of the other questions that was Noah. So Noah, this is perfect. I just want to put this in here. Our GMV Max has been prioritizing videos with low sales while neglecting high performing creatives. Should those low performing creatives be excluded from GMV Max at that point? No. So the reason why, and it's kind of complicated, but you may see a high performing creative with low volume, but it's because TikTok understands which avatar to put that in front of. And so there can be thousands of different avatars. And the thing is, there could be this unique avatar that this one piece of creative seems to be really good towards, versus the low performing creative may go to a broader audience. And so my recommendation is more creative, getting more out of your audience, more out of your affiliates. And that is really the solve for this. But do not, don't turn an ad off. We're not in the business of turning ads off when it comes to GMV Max. So control the things that you can. Noah, hopefully that kind of helps wrap that sort of stuff up. I know it's not an easy answer. It'd be easier just to say turn those creatives off. I don't recommend doing that. I recommend getting better creatives to put in there, or more creatives that go after a specific avatar. The exact same thing. That's exactly how the meta algorithm works as well. If you ever want to read any of the papers on that, it's like, I would highly suggest the most recent papers on the meta algorithm are really important. The way that they group ad IDs together, I'm pretty sure it's ad ID together, but if you think about it, it's like they're grouping it together to go after a certain avatar. Again, people buy from people that look like them, right? And so if you think about that on that sort of scale, you want to have as many people talking and looking different ways that people recognize themselves in them, and they will then buy from those people, right? It's human psychology. So awesome. Noah, I'm going to take Firection instead of direction. I like that. I'm going to repost, or I'm going to get John's repost here. Thoughts on improving ROI on GMV Max. Reality of getting a 3 return on ad spend or return on investment or above. How do you manage for improvement? Brian, you want to handle that one?
Yeah, I think honestly, if you're looking to get to a certain point with GMV Max, especially if you're a cold start, you're going to want to set it lower to be able to get enough spend out there, get enough signals to be able to tell what's working. The reality of getting over a 3 or whatever you're actually looking for is you do need to invest in those signals that we talked about previously. If you're like, hey, the creative is great, it's firing, it's getting spend, but we're still struggling, look at your product pages. Are they primed for conversion? Are people actually converting there? Are they just clicking through from the videos and then dropping off like flies? Are you getting the creative velocity that you need? Are you getting the volume of content on a monthly basis in order to be able to grow quickly? If you're only getting 10, 25 videos a week, it's going to struggle in order to get enough signal in order to scale. So I think you do have to look at the surrounding ecosystem, as well as making sure that you're not throttling GMV Max and forcing it to potentially spend on creative when the destination isn't primed to actually convert them.
Yeah, that's a big, there's so much that goes into that, John, that the AOV is a big lever when it comes to this stuff, right? The higher the AOV that you can create with a bundle, with a new product, with whatever, up to a certain point, the better off you're going to be, because you can pay your creators more, because you have more margin in general, just more gross margin, not from a percentage wise, but from just per transaction. It's honestly like the other day on Sunday, I went down a rabbit hole of a new product that I was wanting to launch, and I might still do it. And I realized the AOV that I was targeting was like $400, and I would do that all day long. I'm like, yeah, that's like that ticks the box for me of where I want to be, because I really believe that you can do so much more when you have a higher AOV. That's why I love luxury goods. I think that I'd much rather be in luxury than consumer. That's just me personally, and I think it's just because selling to rich people is a lot easier than selling to people who like, the $30 for your supplement is the last $30 that they have. Anyway, that's a bigger conversation, but I'm not doing any one-on-one consulting these days, so I'm trying to get it all out here.
We're all better for it. I did also just want to touch on one of the questions. I believe I saw it was Claire, just as it relates to the overall ecosystem. Claire had said, what if you have a ton of new creative, but you think it has potential, but GMV Max won't spend on it? So it kind of goes back into the boosting question as well. If you're having to force creative to get spend, the algorithm is telling you that it does not believe in it for some reason or another. If you're looking at the creative and you're like, this is amazing, it should absolutely be spending, look at all the other signals to make sure that the algorithm believes in putting money behind that. We have seen brands in the past where we force spend or they force spend by like 10 cents just to get it boosted. To Jordan's earlier point, we have not seen a whole lot of success forcing spend on creatives. It just goes back to what are the inputs that we're feeding it.
Yeah. One kind of thing to go along with that, and I'm sorry, I'm not trying to like answer everyone of Noah's questions. It's just that they just happen to like perfectly align here. So one of the issues, right, is this, and we haven't talked about this yet, but this 1,000 creative mark. We see it time and time again that 1,000 creatives tend to be just like, guys, can you just like
Families.
be quiet behind me?
Oh
like,
my goodness.
sometimes my baby will be like screaming in the background too. I'm like, could you please? Could you please? At least my other kids listen. There's this 1,000 creative mark that really, really matters. So 1,000 videos, and we seem to see this tipping point at 1,000 videos. It's the same. It's because of the algorithm needing that, being thirsty for all of that creative and all of those different avatars that it's able to go after. So really like focus on that as a big metric. Noah, I think that's your benchmark question of like, could the issue be that spend is too low compared to the amount of creatives? Yes, like I like to have our target budget higher than you think, and then your target ROI lower than you think, and you're going to allow more room for the robot to play around within that number. That's what I think. Ben, I'm going to go to your question here. What's a good benchmark number for number of customers who visit your site compared to purchases? 1%, 5%? It really depends on your category, on your AOV, on all of those things. It also depends on whether they're haloing over to Amazon and .com and all of those things. You can find some really good benchmarks on, if you just go use thinking on ChatGPT, or if you're using Claude, use one of their more advanced models. You can find some really good numbers on .com and Amazon. For TikTok Shop, it is just all over the place. My recommendation is to go to Fastmoss or Calidata, and you can go and look and see some benchmarks on there, but it will be very dependent on your product category, AOV, all of that kind of stuff. So that's an answer hopefully to teaching to fish rather than the actual answer, because it really depends. In apparel on .com, we used to like 3%, was like, whoa. But it really depends. So Brywin, Connor, the number of videos per month to hit the 2 to 3K a day in ad spend, again, get to the 1,000 videos and life looks a lot different at that point. I'd probably at 2 to 3K of ad spend, I'd be wanting to be at like 5,000 videos a month, somewhere in that range. That's just some quick math in my head of thinking. I was just looking at some Reacher numbers previous to this. I'm going to go to another Connor question because this is a tough one. And what do you think about manually time blocking ad spend? We see 50 to 75% of our daily budget getting spent at 12 to 1 to 2 a.m. I know the AI thinks CPA is cheapest at this time, but our data has shown that sales come during the day / early evening. Brywin, gotta tackle this one? It's a toughie.
Yeah, it's so I'm a big believer in not forcing the algorithm to do what we think it should do. You are going to have people that obviously see shop ads and see GMV Max ads, and then they see another one and then they convert later on. Maybe they come back to it, which is why like search and things like that are so important as well. And making sure that you have like your SEO built into your listing. For me, I would actually lean into what Jordan said previously and actually set your budget higher. See if by giving it more fuel, whether or not you're going to see a better distribution, and play with those levers first over necessarily blocking it and putting constraints on.
Yeah, I want to answer this question with the concept of frequency. So you guys probably know about frequency. You probably hear about frequency in a bad way, like, oh, this ad has a frequency of 3, meaning, people are seeing this ad 3 times within a prescribed period of time. The thing is, you need a certain amount of brand frequency for somebody to make a purchase, right? It's around 20 touch points that you actually need right now for somebody to make a purchase. So Connor, somebody may actually be discovering your product at that point, which is why like these AI systems understand within the constraints of TikTok Shop, they understand this within that time. And so I wouldn't time block. I wouldn't do that. It's the same thing on Meta. We've had this discussion for years and years and years on Meta. It's the same sort of thing there. Guys, we got one more question left. Brywin, I'm going to let you tackle this last question.
Ooh, let me see here.
I think we should do Jake's question.
That's what I was looking at. As well. So as a new brand on TikTok Shop, do you believe it's worth it to pay for content from creators? We're in a spot where it seems paying retainers is the only way that we can achieve consistent content of high quality. The game has certainly changed and creators have realized they fuel the TikTok Shop engine. This has been especially difficult as a new brand on the platform. So if you've been on the other workshops before, this is a semi-controversial thing to say. However, feedback from creators, and we do talk to them a lot, Jordan spoke on that previously, they honestly don't care as much about retainers. They care about higher commissions. So while you're starting out, if there's creators that you're like, I absolutely want to work with this person, go to them, offer them higher commissions, get them on a target collab where you're willing to pay extra for them. Maybe it's a creator that they've made amazing content for another brand, similar brand, what have you. Really align that to be competitive. And then also make sure something that we are big believers in is actual creator incentive funds. So it's not necessarily paying for retainers. It is how do we create contests and incentivizations that make creators want to post. And so we'll have in a given month a certain portion of budget that goes to who posts the most videos, or we're giving 5 gift cards away to the people that post 10 videos within the span of a certain amount of time. We have GMV leaderboards. We incentivize through contests and campaigns in that sense without it going into flat fee retainers, but definitely increased commissions for those creators that you're really, really gunning for would be the first place I start.
So I think so I don't like paying retainers for creators that are unproven for brands. I just don't like it. It goes back to the old influencer model. If somebody needs a retainer to work with your brand and they have never worked with your brand, they haven't received a sample, I just run. Don't do it, because it doesn't align the incentives properly, right? Once you pay them, they have no incentive to make good content. They've been paid. What do they care? Like, they're just going to move on to the next 1,000 brands that want to give them product. So don't do it. Don't do that, but instead give them something to work towards. or like a potential that they're going to have working with your brand, and then spend some time with them. That's really at the end of the day what I think is like the harder thing to do. Don't just throw retainers at people. Now, after they have been proven to make good content, like we do that all the time, we'll give a retainer to somebody to get them to stick around and make a certain amount of videos because we already know that they're proven. But that's once you've built the relationship. Guys, there's like 4 million creators on TikTok Shop. Don't do it. So I know that it seems like they have the upper hand. They do-ish, but like that's what all of this, like all the things we talk about, all the psychology around TikTok Shop is about, making sure that you create an even playing field with them, right? So I think we're going to end it there. Brywin, amazing today. Thank you everyone for showing up. If we didn't get to your question this time, we will next time. We're going to be sending a replay out later as well. So hopefully that was helpful for you all. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody.